Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back. So I am back on the bed again today for another little girl chat, but this girl chat is going to be all about periods and bodies and I'm very excited about it. So I have a bunch of questions that you guys sent me in over on my Instagram and that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about today. I used to be the queen of long intros. Like when I look back at some of my old videos, like some of my intros are 3 minutes long and I can't watch a video now if there's a super long intro. Like it's such a pet peeve of mine. Like I hate long intros. So we're going to dive right on into the periods and bodies. We're going to talk about periods first of all. Okay, so the first question I have here is, I always get leaks at night. Any tips? Well girl, you are asking the right person. So when I started my period, so I actually started my period when I was 14. When I started my period, it was extremely heavy. Like so heavy. My period's not as heavy now as it was back then. I don't know why that is. Maybe it has something to do with me being on the pill for 5 years. I think we've all stained our favourite underwear, our favourite pyjamas, or our bed sheets at some point or another. Like period mishaps happen and it's just the way of life. But it used to happen to me a lot and my mattress and my bed sheets used to get destroyed. Like my mattress back at my parents' house got so bad that we had to flip my mattress because I was leaking so much at night that it was leaking all the way through to my mattress and actually staining my mattress because I had such a heavy period. And the problem with leaking on your period, oh my god, there was a bit of dust there and it gave me such a fright. I thought it was a spider. I feel like you'll get more leaks on your period and more mishaps, bedtime mishaps, when you're not using the right period products. And that's exactly what happened to me because the first couple years of having my period, I had no idea what products to use, what products I needed for how heavy my period was. So I was just kind of using like the typical normal type of pads until I one day discovered nighttime pads. And let me tell you, nighttime pads changed my life. I remember I used to have to wake up in the night, change my underwear, change my pajamas. But why should leaks get in the way of a good night's sleep? Like they really shouldn't. And on that note, I would like to thank Always for sponsoring today's video. I'm so grateful to brands like Always for supporting my content and the kind of content I do put out there. I'm sure you're all aware, YouTube isn't a big fan of my content because I talk about real things. I'm sure you're all aware that I am a pad girl, but Always Platinum is the #1 sanitary pad for comfort and protection. I have been using Always forever, and if they aren't already your bedtime bestie, because they sure as hell are mine, then say hello to the size 4 secure night pads. Oh my god, I love these. The 60% larger back compared with Always Platinum normal pads offers more coverage, hard-working side leak barriers, protect from leakage, and cottony softness offers the ultimate comfort while you sleep, baby girl. These pads have odor neutralizing technology which helps you stay fresh all day. Now being honest, I have tried other pads before and I always go back to my Always pads because they don't do me any favors. They don't keep me fresh, they don't stop me from leaking, they're not as comfortable. Like anytime I've tried out other pads that weren't Always, I'm always very itchy and uncomfortable and it's just not a vibe. I remember the first time I tried out a nighttime pad was when I was like 16 and I couldn't believe it. Like I could not believe it. Like the long back makes such a difference, like such a difference, because when you're sleeping and you're lying down, a bit TMI, but like the blood is going to go everywhere. It's going to be going down your back and up the front, like, you know, it gets in all them creaks and crevices. But when you've got the nighttime pad, you don't have to worry about any of that. And I literally use these every single month when I'm on my period at nighttime. I will not use any other pads. Always Platinum is currently available nationwide from most retailers, but yeah, I adore these. I would highly recommend if you struggle with leaks at nighttime. I also wear these on the first day or two of my period because my first 2 days of my period tends to be the heaviest and then it gets a bit lighter. So I even wear these during the day on my heavy days because I just feel more protected and I'm not worrying about constantly like checking if there's any leaks or anything going on down there. But thank you so much to Always for sponsoring today's video. You guys are amazing. So our next question is, do you deal with diarrhea on your period? Any tips to help? So I know this might be like too much information for some people, but I feel like this stuff is so important to talk about and it's nothing to to be embarrassed about and it's nothing to be ashamed about. I personally do, and it's something that I've always suffered with on my period. They actually say it's closely related to an increase in hormones called prostaglandins, which are released before your period, and that's why some people get diarrhea just before or during their period. I've always gotten it during my period, but I have found some things over the years that really do help me, and it's something that I don't suffer with half as much as I used to. Like, it used to be so bad. Okay, but some of the things that really help me is a few days before you get your period is to start eating more fibre. So fibre adds bulk to your stool, making it more solid. There are so many foods which contain fibre, but some examples are the likes of whole grain bread, fruits and vegetables with skins on, because the skin is where most fruits and veg keep their fibre. Something else that I found really helped me is taking a probiotic. Now, I've talked about probiotics so many times on my channel before, but I cannot stress how amazing probiotics really are, because probiotics will help to boost the amount of healthy bacteria which is in your gut, which then will help reduce the diarrhea symptoms. And the last thing that I have found to really help me with diarrhea on my period is taking ibuprofen 2 days before my period starts. Now, I know not everybody agrees with painkillers and ibuprofen, and that is absolutely fine. I personally am somebody who thinks if something's going to help you, why not take it? Like, I'm not against stuff like that. It's the same way some people are very against antidepressants. I'm under the impression of, if it's going to help you, take it. So ibuprofen can actually help to reduce the effects of prostaglandins on your body. So that's the hormone which is released before your period, which can cause the diarrhea. And they don't actually understand why some people get diarrhea before or during their period and others don't. Like, they can't figure that one out, but it's just the way it is. But yeah, there are some of the things that have really helped me over the years. Another option is to avoid certain foods which are known to make diarrhea worse. Now, this is something that I personally don't really do, because it's the likes of caffeine, dairy products, spicy foods, very sugary foods and artificial sweeteners. I love caffeine. I also like my sugar. Like, I do put a spoon of sugar in my coffee and stuff like that. So I don't really do that stuff, but that is another option for you to try out if it's really bad and it's something you're really struggling with, is just to look up the foods that do make diarrhea worse and try and eliminate them from your diet. The next question is, what was your reaction when you got your first period? Okay, so my reaction was, I was actually so excited. And that was mainly because I was the last out of my friends to get my period. You can literally get your period as late as, like, I don't know, 16, 17. Like, some people get their period really late. I was 14, but my small group of friends all got it earlier than me. I'm not saying 14 is late to get your period, it's not at all, but just because that was my only understanding of it at that age was my friends. Like, you know, I could only go off the fact that all my friends had it. So it was something I was like, oh my god, am I never going to get my period? And I was starting to wonder, was there something wrong with me? Was I never going to get my period? I had nobody to talk about with these things, so I just let my mind go to absolute town on it, and I was so stressed out about it. Also, stress is actually a big reason as to why we might miss a period, or a period might be late, or it could even be a reason as to why you haven't yet gotten your first period. I might have delayed my period because I was so stressed about my period coming, but yeah, I was very excited because I was like, oh my god, yay! All I knew was that period equals you can have babies in future. I've literally wanted to have babies since I was like 6 years of age. Like, I've always been very maternal, so that was like the main reason why I was very excited to get my period. But what I would say is that if you've not yet got your period, do not stress about it. Everyone is so different, everybody's bodies are different. It's the same way some people start puberty as young as 9 years of age. Some people don't start puberty till they're like 14, 15. Like, everyone is different, and you cannot compare yourself to your friend or anyone else, because our bodies are so unique and they're all so different. It will happen when it's supposed to happen, and your body is doing its thing. So just enjoy the time of not having a period, because you're going to have the rest of your life to have a period, and it really is not that enjoyable. There is nothing enjoyable about it at all, which brings us on to our next question, which is, do you notice physical changes right before your period? Now, I know some girls are so blessed and like their period is like nothing, they don't get any symptoms, they just bleed for like 2 or 3 days. Like, some girls are really blessed. I've always really struggled with my period. Like, I've always gotten really bad PMS, I've always had a lot of symptoms, I've always gotten really bad cramps and bloating, etc. So I have have always kind of had a difficult period, like, and I've always had quite a heavy period as well. Some changes that I get before my period are breakouts and bloating. I bloat really bad on my period, and my boobs get so painful. They're 3 physical symptoms I get every single month just before I get my period and for the first few days of my period. I also always get really bad cramps. Now some months they're a lot worse than others. I don't know why that is. Like this month my cramps were so bad that for like a whole day I literally couldn't move off the couch with my hot water bottle because I was just in so much pain. There are kids screaming outside. Kids, shh, keep it down. Keep it down. We're trying to talk about periods. You're going to have to deal with them when you're older, so shh. One struggle of living in an apartment block in quarantine is that there are a lot of kids playing outside on their balconies, screaming all day, every day. I love kids, but not when they're screaming. Not when they're screaming. I also suffer with mood swings, more so just before my period, like the days leading up to my period is when I will suffer with mood swings worse than when I'm on my period. And I also feel so tired. When I'm on my period, I am exhausted. I cannot get enough sleep. Like, I cannot get enough sleep. If I could sleep for 24 hours a day on my period, I would. But unfortunately, I can't because life goes on. And even though we are bleeding out of our vagina, we still have to function. We still have to be a fully functioning human. Almost. How do you know if you get your first period? What does it feel like? Not got mine yet. So when I got my first period, I didn't notice any like symptoms personally, but that might have been because I wasn't really aware of what to expect. Like I don't remember getting cramps or anything like that. Like the first day I got my period, it was really light, but you'll know you've got your period because you're not going to bleed out of your vagina unless it's your period. Well, you shouldn't be bleeding out of your vagina. If you're bleeding out of your vagina and it's not your period, you need to go and see a doctor. But yeah, you'll know. Like you will just know. Like there will be blood. There will never have been blood before. And that will be your period. But normally for most girls, I don't think you will get symptoms before your first period. Like my first period was quite light compared to my periods now. Like my periods got a lot heavier after I got a few of them. But everyone's going to be a bit different. But yeah, you'll know, girl. Next question is any tips on how to avoid yeast infections on your period? So Candida grows best in warm, moist environments. I personally have never suffered with yeast infections on my period. The only time I ever suffer and have suffered with yeast infections is when I take antibiotics. I will get a yeast infection every single time I take an antibiotic. Like it's ridiculous. But something I would really recommend is to avoid wearing tight fitting clothes like jeans, leggings and like that, because you're making everything so tight and your vagina literally cannot breathe. You want your vagina to be able to breathe. I'd really recommend cotton underwear. It's also why I'm a big fan of the Always Platinum pads because I find them very breathable. Like I find other pads that aren't always not so breathable. Like my vagina always feels like it's suffocating, whereas I always feel like my vagina is breathing just fine when I'm wearing Always pads, and it's another reason why I love them. But also to take your probiotic every single day, even when you're not on your period, you should be taking probiotics every day throughout the month because that will promote healthy gut bacteria. And it will also keep the bacteria down there healthy and good. There are quite a lot of things out there, like you can do your own research online regarding yeast infections, but there are 2 things that I'd really recommend, and there are 2 things that really made a difference for me with yeast infections, because when I was younger I went through maybe 3 years where I was getting so many yeast infections in a year, and it's not fun. Like it's not fun, but they are avoidable. Like I've not had a yeast infection in like, I want to say a year and a half. Like the last time I was on antibiotics would have been when I got a yeast infection. Another tip is if you always get yeast infections when you take antibiotics, if you're being prescribed an antibiotic, always ask for the tablet. I don't know what it's called, but the tablet they give you to get rid of a yeast infection. It's literally just one tablet you have to take, you swallow it, and if you take that tablet the same day you start your antibiotics, it will reduce the chances of you getting a yeast infection. I forgot to do that the last time I took antibiotics, and it actually took me like 2 rounds of treatment to get rid of my yeast infection because it got quite bad. I had to use like the cream you have to put down there, and then I also had to take the tablet tablet, but if you take the tablet as soon as you start taking the antibiotics, it will normally prevent it. So that's also another little tip, which took me years to figure out. Now we're going to move on to bodies. So the first question I have is, having the smallest boobs out of all your friends. Confidence with small boobs, it's hard to not feel less attractive or womanly. Now, I had quite a lot of you guys send in questions about small boobs, confidence with small boobs, etc, etc. So first of all, you should not feel less attractive or less womanly because you've got smaller boobs. Like, that is such a silly way of thinking. It's like somebody with really big boobs saying that they feel less attractive or less womanly. Like, it's just silly. Like, you're a woman, you are attractive just the way you are, and you are a woman. You need to remind yourself that everyone's got a type. The world would not go around the way it does. There would not be so many babies every single year if everyone had the same type. Like, if everyone's type was big boobs, big bum, really curvy, etc., there wouldn't be such a big population. Like, everyone is attracted to different kinds of people, different sizes, different shapes, like, etc, etc, you know, different hair colour, different eye colour. Like, it's like saying I've got brown hair so I feel less attractive compared to women who have blonde hair. Like, what? Like, no. I feel like with anything, you've got to look at the pros, you've got to look at the positives. With absolutely everything, you know, I feel like humans, we're just more likely to go to the negatives and just look to the negatives. Unfortunately, that's the way our mind works a lot of the time, but we have to train our mind to go to the positives. There is positives in absolutely everything. So I'm going to give you a few positives of having small boobs. I bet you didn't know this one now, but having small boobs actually means you'll feel more pleasure in bed. The University of Vienna researchers found that large breasts are 24% less sensitive than small breasts. Your boobs, since they have less fatty tissue, are easier to stimulate during foreplay. Now, I have always been on the smaller chest side, and I have always gotten a lot of pleasure out of my nipples, especially in the bedroom. So that is a huge pro. Another pro, you've got bra freedom. Like me, I don't have to wear a bra ever. Like, I don't need to wear a bra. I could literally wear any top I wanted and not wear a bra very easily. You know what I mean? Like, off the shoulder tops, like strapless ones, like you name it. Like, you really don't need to wear a bra. So that's a big pro. Here's another pro. And these are things that you need to, like, put in your brain. It's the same if you've got big boobs. You need to look at the pros of having big boobs. Because I know a lot of girls who have big boobs want smaller boobs. Like, us as humans, I don't know why, but we always want what we don't have. Like, why? Why can we not just appreciate what we do have? Because there's somebody who is wishing they have what we have. Do you know what I mean? Would you believe they're actually keeping you healthy? Your small boobs are keeping you healthy. Your small chest can help prevent breast cancer, Dr. Wes told Cosmopolitan. It's easier to detect a lump with smaller breasts in self-exams because there are fewer layers to feel through. Now, I bet you would have never thought of that when you were complaining and, like, you know, thinking of all the bad things with your small boobs. No, it's not all so bad. It's not all so bad. And also, you've got perky little friends, like perky friends. Like, I love my perky girls. Like, whew, honestly, I've learned to love them. I used to, like, be like, but now I'm like, you know what? I love my perky girls, and you should too. The next question is, how did you learn to accept your body? Okay, this is something that I'm going to do a whole video on because body dysmorphia is something that I have suffered with my whole life. But something that really helped me to learn to accept my body is spending time with your body. I feel like so many of us, like, we just cover ourselves up and hide away, and, like, we don't get to know our body, you know. And if we're not spending time alone, naked, looking at our body, seeing our body from all different angles and whatnot, like, you can't learn to accept it. And I honestly could not recommend that enough. Like, walking around naked or just being naked and looking at yourself and, you know, masturbating, like, getting to know your body, like, things like that are things that really helped me. Because, like, for years, like, I just wouldn't even look at myself in the mirror naked. Like, when I was younger, I wouldn't. But it was only when I started being like, you know what? I only get one body. I only have one body. This is my home. This body does so much for me. Like, just think of all the things your body does for you. It gets you from A to B. Like, it digests your food. Like, you know, the list is endless. Like, I could sit here all day talking about how amazing our bodies are. But again, you've got to look at the pros. Like, look how amazing your body is. But as I said, I will do a whole video on accepting your body dysmorphia, stuff like that, because it is something that I've gone through, and I know a lot of you guys do struggle with it as well. The next question is, I am hairy, and I mean hairy. For instance, my thighs are covered in dark hairs, and I feel so ugly, gross, and unfeminine. Any advice? So first of all, we're all hairy, honey. I am a hairy bitch. Now, some of us are hairier than others, but humans are hairy. Like, we're hairy. Like, hair is there for a reason. Like, hair is there to protect us at the end of the day, and there is a reason for hair being there. You should not feel ugly, gross, or unfeminine because of it, because everyone has it. The only thing you don't realise is that you don't notice it on other people because you're so concerned about your own hair. Like, everyone is just so focused on themselves that they're actually not even looking at you or noticing the things you think they're noticing about you. I personally don't like hair on my body. Like, I don't feel ugly or gross or unfeminine when, like, there's hair, but I feel better about myself when I don't have hair on my body. I just feel better and fresher and cleaner. It's just the way I am. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with people who keep all their hair because they feel best with their hair, and that is absolutely fine. But something that really helped me, because I've never liked hair on my body, is I just get rid of it. I shave everywhere, girl. I shave everywhere. I shave my legs, my stomach, my boobs, in between my boobs. I don't shave my arms. Okay, the only places I don't shave are my arms and my back, because, come on, let's be real, can't reach my back. And I don't care about my arms, because I shaved my arms once when I was like 9 or 10 years of age, and then I remember after I shaved my arms, I started noticing how much hair other people had in their arms, and I was like, it's so normal. And then I stopped shaving my arms. I only shaved my arms once. I never shaved them again. So yeah, my arms and my back are the only things I don't shave, but I shave everywhere else, like everywhere else. So if you're uncomfortable with hair, also under my armpits, obviously I shave as well, but if you're uncomfortable and you don't feel good in your body with hair, you can remove it. Like, I shave my bloody face. Like, yes, I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to fucking admit that. And you should do whatever makes you feel best, but you should not feel unfeminine or gross or ugly because that's what society says. You should only ever do something for you, not for somebody else. Like, if you're feeling unfeminine, gross, ugly, and that's just because you're seeing girls on porn who have no hair, which they do have hair, they're just getting rid of it because that's their job. And porn is not real life, porn is not realistic, it's entertainment, not education. All women grow pubic hair, all women grow hair on their legs, on their arms. Some women's hair is fairer than others. I have dark brown hair, so my hair on my body is all very dark. But there are weeks where I don't go without shaving my legs. You know, in the winter and stuff, like, there are. Or sometimes I'm just lazy and I won't shave my legs for a few days and my hair grows fast. Like, let me tell you, don't let anybody ever shame you for having hair, and don't ever remove it for anyone else, okay? I just need to stress that so much. Like, only ever do something for you, and just be aware that we're all hairy. You just don't notice it on other people because we're all too worried about ourselves, okay? Don't stress it. Don't stress it. So friends, that's the end of today's video. I'd really appreciate if you could smash a big thumbs up and turn the notification bell on down below so you get notified every time I upload. But I just want to say thank you so much to Always for sponsoring today's video. Brands like Always are the absolute best, as I said, for sponsoring this kind of content I do, because YouTube hates it. But I hope this helped some of you guys out. I love you all so very much, and I cannot wait to see you all in my next video. Bye my friends.